is from page 127. So some plants, they reproduce asexually. Okay, so they do not reproduce with male and female gametes. All right. So what are some ways that plants can reproduce in this way, where they do not need a male and a female plant? Just one plant or one portion by itself is enough to make a new plant. So this one right over here, right? What does this look like? This looks like some kind of a leaf, all right? And then you see there's a whole bunch of tiny new plants that are growing on the side of this old parent plant, right? So this one plant by itself can produce all these tiny little new plants, and eventually each of these plants will drop off and go and grow on its own. So these little things here are called plantlets. So plantlets are tiny plants that grow along the edges of a plant's leaves. So these are all tiny plants that have started to grow. These plantlets will fall off and grow on their own. Another way is by the use of tubers. So here we have a potato, and all of a sudden you notice that there's these little tubers that are starting to grow. So there's no male and female gamete over here. This one potato by itself is producing all these new potato plants. So what people often do is they chop up this potato when it starts to form these small tubers. They chop up the potato into all these pieces and plant all the pieces separately, and each of those pieces will turn into a new plant. So you see this new plant that's forming here. You can kind of cut off this portion over here, go plant it in the soil somewhere, and that'll grow into a new plant. This portion over here, just kind of cut off this portion here, go plant it somewhere else, that forms another plant. This one over here, you just cut off this portion here, plant it somewhere else, that forms yet another plant. So these are called tubers. This whole potato is a tuber, and each of these eyes can form a new plant. This right over here is a strawberry plant. So this is another way. So this is the third way. We talked about plantlets, tubers, and now we have something called runners. So take a look at this picture over here, right? This right here is the parent plant, right? This is the mature plant, the old plant. So this plant over here, it could produce maybe flowers and produce seeds and all that kind of stuff. But here's another way that it can grow. It sends out this kind of stem-like thing along the surface called a runner. And so where this runner ends up, it forms a new plant. And if you look at strawberry plants, that's how they grow, right? So below the ground they have roots, but you see these like runners that they're sending out here? These are called runners. So this plant is sending out a runner over here, and where it ends up, a new plant is forming right over here. So these are all three of these different types in one picture. Here you have the plantlets, here you have a tuber, and here you have a strawberry plant sending out runners.